Hello and welcome to the channel. This is Frank of Frank and Angie, and we discuss the all-encompassing area of retire early lifestyle. We don't just focus on one little tiny segment. We talk about all aspects that are very fundamental to our happiness and very instrumental and, really important issues. And today we're talking about an American citizen that has been estranged from his wife. And yes, a lot of retirees, we've seen this years ago, people going abroad to marry a foreign woman and vice versa. I have many friends that are mature men that have gone abroad and taken on a foreign wife. And, the reasons for this are a subject of a different video and why they do it. But the point is that there are a lot of American citizens that are married to foreigners, and they just don't really get much of a voice in the mainstream media. Of course, a lot of important subjects don't get much of a voice in mainstream media. But so today we're going to hear from an 83-year-old Army veteran that is being unjustly denied his unalienable right to be with his wife that he's been married to for 8 years. And he's been married to her for 8 years. He's already been separated from her for like 15 months. And lo and behold, U.S. immigration doesn't seem to care about people like this. And he himself, I'll show you his letter in a minute, is not necessarily partial to himself, although he does believe that he has made a service to his country, and clearly he feels unjustly victimized, and I agree with him. And so he clearly has a real beef. But he also presents solutions at the end of the letter, which is very good and very interesting. Unfortunately, not a rare story. This is happening over and over and over to American citizens. And remember, this is about American citizens. This is you. This could easily be you. It could easily be your neighbor. It could be your church members. It could be your associates at work. It could be anybody that lives on your street. Basically, it's people that you normally associate with as being part of your nation, your culture, your people. And this is who it's happening to. Because in America, there's a huge segment of the population that has been told that it's okay to dehumanize foreigners and to vilify them and to just put them all in this category that they're all criminals and bad people. And they just need to be treated as such. And of course, nothing could be further from the truth, not minimizing the fact that there clearly are, people that are undesirable and clearly should be dealt with accordingly. But it seems that in this particular day and age, it's just a gray area that everything gets jumbled up and mixed in together. And people don't realize the damage that they're doing to themselves. Because remember that a pine forest is made of pine trees. You cannot have a pine forest and have other trees. Apple, you wouldn't call it a pine forest. You would just call it a forest. If it's a pine forest, it's got to be made up of pine trees, right? And so when it comes to a culture and a nation, if we don't respect the institution of family and marriage, and we minimize and justify the destruction of such, then in essence what you're doing is you're destroying your own culture and you're destroying your nation. The foundation of any nation and culture is the family, because just for obvious reasons. You would not have had all of the history of creation had Adam and Eve not procreated and been a husband and a wife. All right, so here's the letter. Open letter to Biden or Trump, it doesn't matter. Whoever wants to listen, because right now the man is suffering. I am a U.S. citizen, twice Gold Star, family member, a third brother, 16 years old, was nearly burnt to death in 1943 making hand grenades at a U.S. military armament plant. Okay, so risking their lives to serve the U.S. government. I am also a U.S. military veteran of 8 years. I'm not sure if that's a typo. I am 83 years old and in poor health, living totally alone in USA. And no one has been to my front door for the last 12 months. This man's alone. You get to the end of your life, you've done all these wonderful things You've been a responsible adult. You get to the end of your life. And if I should die, who is going to find my body or bury me? That's huge. Normally, your family members. So he needs a visa. I need a visa for my wife. He wants to get his wife over to unite and help me sell my home. Now, this explanation is not necessary. There's no justification or necessary explanation necessary as to why a man, any man, not necessarily an older man, 83 years old, all on his own. But this is the story that came to us, and this is what we're discussing right now. But there's no justification. When a man and a woman are married, they are one. And this concept is very much respected in many parts of the world. It is understood that when you're with your spouse, the non-citizen spouse acquires the very same rights as the citizen spouse. And it's just a given, and it's just natural, and it just happens without any extra permission or waiting periods or any such things like that in many parts of the world. But even if it wasn't the case in many parts of the world, it should be the case in all parts of the world for moral reasons and ethical reasons and for all of the reasons that we discussed. So, if I should die, who is going to find my body or bury me? I need a visa for my wife to come help me sell the home, and you can keep your expletive green card. Then we'll leave the country. Again, it's an explanation. It's a personal explanation. So, please do not force. Notice the word force. This is compulsion. He's being compelled. Do not force my wife and me to wait the normal 10 to 14 months. Most people don't even know that there is such a wait. And in many cases, if it's not, let's just say for clarification, an open and shut case and there's other details necessary, it could be an additional year on top of that. People just don't have any idea in America. Americans don't have any idea what it's like for a U.S. citizen once they've married a foreigner. And people say, well, you should have known. No, you should have known. You should have known, and you should know what the real issues are here when it comes to family and a nation. A nation is made up of family. Anyway, as previously stated, do not force my wife and me to wait the normal 14 months for a spouse visa to be allowed to unite. Just to be able to be with her, with my dear wife. We have been separated now already for the last 15 months. That's just tragic. This next part is really revealing. Why does the U.S. immigration grant well over 330,000 student visas, and that needs to be checked, but 330,000 student visas every year to Chinese students? This drives up the U.S. college tuition. Okay, they apply and are given a student visa. Now get this, within 10 days. Within 10 days. We do not want to live in this country. We just, you can just give her green card to those Chinese students and make all these U.S. politicians happier. So my family fought and died for the USA. We served in the U.S. military for a total of 51 years, all him and his brothers. I've been married to a Filipino lady for 8 years. So this isn't a guy that just got married 3 months ago to some prostitute or scammer or something like that. There's a bona fide marriage. And what is the bona fide reason for immigration to even take a second look at marriages to begin with? Well, one apparent justifiable reason would be that there isn't any fraud. Clearly, if somebody's been married 8 years, multiple years, and even those that have U.S. citizen children and even adult children, clearly that is a bona fide marriage. And so, been married to a Filipino lady for 8 years. The U.S. immigration gives my wife's visa to those dang Chinese students. You're sitting here giving Chinese students a visa in 10 days, and here I am, an 83-year-old lonely man married for 8 years to the same Filipino woman, gave ourselves a service to the country. But even if they hadn't, the bottom line is that they are being oppressed. So here at the bottom, he, kind of involves emotion. It's an emotional issue. And so to hell with me as a U.S. citizen, a veteran even, who has also lost 2 brothers. And he lost 2 brothers. 121 and 26 in the U.S. military. And a third brother, 16 years old and 43, was nearly burnt to death making hand grenades at the U.S. military armament plant. And so I said there was an ending here with a proposed solution, which I wholeheartedly agree with. Any U.S. citizen, because this isn't about the foreigners, it's about the citizens who is married and his spouse is living out of the country. This spouse should be allowed to go to the local U.S. embassy with a marriage certificate in hand, and they should automatically be granted the right to enter the USA. And I wholeheartedly agree with this, and this is already presently established in many other countries. Not all, many other countries don't have that, but many countries do. And then the foreign spouse should be given a U.S. visa at any time. In other words, you know, any thinking person understands that when there's clearly a bona fide marriage, there should be no impediments or barriers keeping bona fide marriages and families apart in this way. You know, and then they can do all the checking they want. Sure, you know, they got a whole ICE department. I mean, clearly, if there was any issue, what's the ICE department for? You know, I can bet you anything, and then he gives us opinion, anything you want to bet that if any of these millionaires married a woman overseas, they'd be granted an entrance visa immediately, no questions asked. So then he says, please spread the word. Okay, so to wrap it up, this is all legal right now to do this to American citizens and their marriages and their families. It's completely legal. People like to focus on legality, and a lot of times, in most cases, the difference between legal and lawful is not understood. You know, when you pass a bunch of regulations that are unconstitutional, they may be legal, but they're not lawful. That's the difference. So I hope with that you're encouraged to understand that there's more to the story of immigration, and understand that U.S. citizens are being abused in this way, and it is a unconstitutional, unlawful act, and it is immoral and unacceptable in a free society. And with that, I hope I've opened someone's eyes, and that's the purpose of our channel, is to share the other side of the story. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and leave us a comment below, and have a nice day.